Hello everybody, welcome to the ASUS ROG YouTube channel. My name is JJ, I'm the Senior Technical Marketing Specialist for ASUS. Today's May 11th, so the Z68 chipset has been officially lifted from embargo, so we're going to go ahead and take a little bit of a preview, unboxing, first look, a little bit kind of an overview on the Z68 chipset, as well as our board that's going to be launching on the market, the P8Z68-V Pro. So definitely, as ASUS is always the forerunner of the industry when it comes to motherboard launches, chipset releases, and kind of merging our technologies as well as Intel's chipset technologies, we're really proud to kind of showcase this motherboard and a lot of the features and functionality that you're going to have available to you. So first and foremost, let's kind of get maybe some of the confusion that there might be, as there always is when new chipset launches. So there's no CPU change. This is still an 1155 socket platform, so that means that all your previous generation CPUs, such as a 2600K, 2500K, 2400 series part, they're all going to be dropping compatible, no issues. Same thing for your heat sinks, no change on the heat sinks. Memory, still DDR3, still SATA, it's still PCIe connectivity, so pretty much everything that you were aware of for H67 and P67 is going to hold true. The only thing is that we're going to be taking elements from H67, and we're also going to be taking elements for P67 and kind of combining them together to be creating the Z68 chipset platform. So let's go ahead and take a look at this board, and we'll dive into a little bit more about what makes the platform different from the current H67 and P67 crop. So we've got our P8Z68-V Pro motherboard here. So let's go ahead and take a look inside the box, and we'll go over some of these features that you actually see listed here on the motherboard. Okay, so we can see here, we've got our P8Z68-V Pro motherboard. So we're going to go ahead and take a little bit of a run through on some of the actual connections that we have available to you here. So here on the back I/O, we've got 4 USB 2 ports. We've got 1 eSATA port, 2 more USB 2 ports, our BTGO or Bluetooth 2.1 plus EDR connection. We have our optical Toslink out. Then we've got one of the distinctive characteristics of a Z68 motherboard, which is going to be the display output functionality. So as we can see here, we have HDMI, we've got DVI, and we also have D-sub or VGA. So this is going to go ahead and utilize the iGPU or the integrated graphics. But as new that's on Z68 with the implementation of the Virtuo technology, this is going to allow us to go ahead and also have a discrete graphics card installed into one of these by 16 slots, whether it's an AMD or an NVIDIA part, and allow us to actually go ahead and run them simultaneously at the same time. So you could go ahead and playing the latest game on your GPU, such as Crysis, Call of Duty Black Ops, or whatever it might be that you're running off your discrete GPU. But you could also go ahead and be using the fixed function chip that's built into the iGPU for a quick sync transcoding technology and really getting that benefit of high quality, high speed transcoding, but while doing it at the same time with essentially no loss in performance. Continuing on to the I/O connectivity here, we've got USB 3, 2 ports here. We've got a gigabit Intel Ethernet, so definitely a big plus as compared to our competitors. This is really offering you superior utilization, higher throughput, and overall a very mature driver stack, which is really compatible with a lot of different applications out there. And lastly, we have our standard line level multi-channel audio out. So that kind of gives us a little bit of an overview in terms of the back I/O. So let's go ahead and take a look at the slots on the motherboard. So going up from the top, we've got a by 1 PCIe. We have a by 16 Gen 2 interconnect. Now this goes ahead and runs off the PCIe lane supplied by the CPU. When running only one GPU, this will run at by 16 full speed. Then we have an additional by 1. We have a PCI. Then we have a secondary physical by 16. When running SLI or Crossfire on this motherboard, you go ahead and have these 2 lanes run at by 8 Gen 2. And then lastly, we have one more physical by 16 slot, and this one will go ahead and run at by 4. Okay. Now jumping over to some of the other ports and connections that we have here on the motherboard. So you can see here, we've got 8 serial ATA ports. Now, native to the PCH and was already introduced on H67 and P67 was the fact that SATA 6G was included natively in the chipset. This was a huge boon as the performance of the Intel controller was really outstanding and really offered a high level performance, especially when you matched it with the SATA 6G capable SSD. In addition to that, of course, ASUS is always providing you more, so we give you 2 additional SATA 6G ports on the board, so giving you a total of 4 SATA 6G ports, and then 4 standard SATA 3G ports. So that gives us a total of 8. Now, one new technology that Intel is including as part of the chipset is going to be something that's called Intel Smart Response Technology, or some people are calling it Ssd Caching. What this is essentially allowing you to do is take an SSD of a smaller capacity, but with still pretty high performance, generally something along the lines of maybe 200 megabytes read and hopefully about 100 megabytes write, and about a 20 to about 40 gigabyte capacity, and match that with a high speed and high capacity mechanical drive, like a 1 terabyte or 2 terabyte drive. What this will allow you to do is essentially get that high performance of read that's available to you on an SSD and use that as a cache so that you can increase your overall system performance, affecting things like application loading, copying of files, boot time, and a number of other factors just regarding your general experience on the PC. So it's a pretty cool technology. It's going to allow you to go ahead and get really the best of both worlds and a good bang for the buck, where you can go ahead and buy 1 terabyte, 2 terabyte drives for 100, sometimes sub $100, and a relatively small capacity SSD for about the same price point, but while still really getting a lot of performance, but still getting a lot of storage. Going over to here, some of the other kind of unique parameters or connections that we have here on the board. We've got our front audio connection for HD audio, connects to your chassis. We've got a power button, reset button, internal USB connection, internal USB connection, internal USB connection. Then we have 2 1394, these black slots right here, a 1394A firewire connection. Here we have our internal chassis connections for such things as the hard drive light, power, reset, things along those lines. Clear CMOS jumper. Here we jump over to the front USB 3 internal connector, allowing you to go ahead and connect it to either the internal bracket that comes with the motherboard or to a front connection that's available on some of the newer generation chassis. Your normal 24-pin power connection. Here we've got some ASUS specific implementations where we have an EPU and a Tpu switch. EPU switch is going to be for users that are most interested in running stock operation and really looking for the best efficiency, lower temperatures, and overall looking to extend the life of their CPU as much as possible, because it's going to be supplying less current but while not affecting performance. So the user just got to go ahead and flip that switch on when they're first running the system and they're good to go. Tpu Switch is focused at users that maybe are interested in getting better than stock performance but aren't really that familiar with overclocking and some of the more complex aspects of how to set up the system and how to correctly tune it. So this user can go ahead and just flip this switch and you go ahead and get an overclock. For example, like 2500K be about 4.3 gigahertz, 2600K be about 4.4 gigahertz. It's a significant increase in providing you really a day in and day out improvement in terms of your normal PC experience. In addition to that, you can see here we of course have our standard high quality, high dissipative heat sinks covering what's referred to as ASUS's DigiPlus VRM. So DigiPlus VRM is really kind of a new power delivery standard that we're promoting. Helps focus on giving you the best overall efficiency and stable, clean power for your CPU. And for users that are looking to overclock, you're going to be able to sustain higher multis and really get the best performance out of your system. And rounding out some of the options that we're going to see here as well is going to be fan connectivity. We've always been a big advocate about trying to give you a lot of control, a lot of flexibility. So let's take a look here at the fans headers. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's quite a bit of fan connections that are present on the motherboard, and we're still really proud to say that we think that we've got the best fan controls available on the market. We're offering you full manual fan control for both the CPU and the chassis. So when users are taking advantage of that DigiPlus VRM, pushing their system, getting the most that they can out of it, overclocking it, you can go ahead and have a nice push-pull fan configuration set up for the CPU and for the chassis fan, and you can have your own minimum temperatures or target temperatures, adjust the fan rotation speed, and really kind of get that best balance of speed to performance to noise output. So that gives us kind of a little bit of an overview on the actual physical connections on the motherboard, the layout, and some of the aspects that make up our P8Z68-V Pro board. So let's go ahead and jump into the box and see what else we have in here. So we've got our I/O shield, and it's actually padded, our Q shield. So of course this makes installation easier. Don't have to worry about cutting your fingers. Just makes the overall process more safe, as well as also helps actually decimate some EMI and help minimize any of that affecting the motherboard during its installation or during its run. Of course, we've got our standard support installation disk. It's got all the software you're going to need to get the system up and running. Of course, you can always check out support.asus.com for the latest versions of drivers or UEFI BIOSes. Got our user guide, which will contain all the information on setting up the system. Quick setup notice regarding how to best set up SATA performance. Got 4 serial ATA cables. So we have a set of the SATA 6G optimized cables, which provide superior grounding and shielding, especially at those high transfer speeds. These are going to be the recommended standard. And then we've got our standard SATA 3 connection cables. Have your SLI bridge, our Q connectors, which go ahead and plug into the USB ports or into the front chassis connections. Just makes it easier, flexible, so you don't have to worry about trying to get these individual little leads into here. And then we have a USB 3 bracket, which can go ahead and plug into the front USB 3 header, allowing you for easy USB 3 connectivity. So that gives you a little bit of a quick overview and an unboxing of our P8Z68-V Pro motherboard. Please stay tuned to our channel, as well as check out ASUSROGforums.com, where you'll find more in-depth review information regarding the board, some of its functionality, and some of the other parameters that are available on the platform. Thanks.